Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Campbell, Sarah McLaughlin. Sarah, how you feeling?
I had a kid in 5th grade ask me if I was related to her, and I told him I wish I was because then I'd be rich.
When I was in middle school, I used to tell people that I was related to, I think his name is Brandon Boyd from Incubus.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. I've never liked Incubus.
No one has.
But I was desperate to be cool, so I told people that.
When I was trying to be cool at bars in my early 20s, I told people I was named after Bruce Campbell.
Ooh. Well, I mean, how many people got that? How many people know who that is?
One very film literate person who I was genuinely impressed with.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get on and hail to the king. And talk about the aspects.
No, let's not, actually. We have three things, actually, I want to talk about before we get into the aspects. And the first one has to do with the episode text last week, where I put a little impromptu contest together to see if people could answer joke correctly. Email into the contact at 40kbadcast.com and tell me the answer to the joke, and I'll send a prize. And nobody did, but some people got very close. So let's go through the joke. Campbell, are you ready to bust your gut laughing?
I'm ready to bust something.
All right, so Campbell, how many goths does it take to screw in a light bulb?
None. They like to sit around in the dark.
Well, that's a very good answer, but it's not the answer. The answer is 4. Peter Murphy to do it first, Ian Curtis to do it again, and 2 more goths to argue about who did it better.
Hey now.
Yeah, so, okay, if you don't get that joke, then you're not a goth. And that's kind of the point of the joke. So nobody got that. A couple of people got very, very close, and I think I might send them a little something from the 40k Badcast just as a thank you for writing in. But keep your eyes open, listeners, because I'll probably, whenever the muse strikes me, probably insert some more impromptu prize opportunities into the show notes. So before we get into the aspects, let's do one more thing here. And we want to thank everybody for the responses they've given us to the last episode of the 40k Badcast, episode 28, where we talked about some potentially, volatile topics.
Yeah, I'm genuinely impressed and genuinely heartened by how cool everyone was. Like, everyone who wrote in was saying, thank you for talking about these topics that other podcasts would not think to talk about, that generally don't get talked about in this community. And I'm just happy that people appreciate us for more than just the deluge of dick jokes.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear from everybody. And I love it when we get to interact with our listeners, and I love it when we get to have actual conversations with them instead of, just fucking around talking about how big Magnus's dong is, which I would imagine is very large.
He needs that loincloth to protect it.
And I got one more thing before we get into the aspects, and it's just, hey, RJ, it's cool, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, thank you for writing in. That was a big ol' email, and I was happy to read through it.
So let's move into the aspects. Campbell, I don't have too much on the hobby progress zone. I've just been working on finishing my Orlocks, and I am just about done with the last 5, and they're looking pretty red and yellow. If you follow me on Twitter, listeners, you will have seen my first 5 Orlocks, and they are quite colorful, something that I don't do a whole lot of bright colors in my painting, but it's been a lot of fun. The base coat stage, though, of these guys is such a fucking slog, though, dude.
Yeah.
Like, getting everything to the point of, like, washes. Like, once you get to the point of washes, when it's just, like, washes and highlights, it's fucking easy going. But everything up to that is just, like, ugh.
I mean, once you have, like, the base coat for the flesh tone, the yellow and the red down, they just look like hot dogs.
They kind of do. They kind of look like the Oscar Mayer Orlocks, which is also a great idea. Maybe if I get tired with the fucking wrestler names, I can get baloney.
No, then you're going to be ripping on my whole shtick.
No, I know. That's why. It's great.
Oh, no, that should be your gang. I have team meat and you have team processed meat. We're just all wounded Juves. Well, speaking of teammate, I've been working on my guys. I'm almost done with the second pack of 5. Their bases are all done, but I haven't really been able to finish the gang because of all the house shit I've been doing for the last week. But that being said, I spent a bunch of money.
Yeah, so we're both doing a lot of Necromunda stuff because we've got a thing coming up, the Necro Slam Spa weekend with our friend Peter up in Wanacue, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Wanacue, New Jersey.
Yeah, I had to ask him how to pronounce that. And it's coming up, just so y'all know, we are recording this on Monday the 30th of April. And at the end of the week, we are heading to New Jersey for a little bit of Necromunda. And I am very excited.
Every time I hang out with Peter, every time he hosts an event like this, it's always a total blast. This will be, I think, my third time heading up to that neck of the literal woods to hang out with him and play war games of some sort. But yeah. This time around, Dylan is coming with, who you may remember from episode 23, where we last talked about Necromunda at length, and he is making some incredible terrain for us to play on.
I'm super excited. You sent me pictures, and I cannot wait for my shitty Orlocks to get blasted off some gantries.
That's kind of what you're here for.
So, have you played any games?
Not a one.
That's too bad. I played one, and it was really good.
All right.
It was against my friend Dave. It was my Primaris Raven Guard against his Primaris Ultra Bros. And it turned into kind of a... Well, at the end of it, it was like he had Rebuke Gilliman and 2 repulsors, like fully DACa'd out repulsors. Gilliman, 3, intercessor squads, 2 aggressor squads. He had a Teeth of Terra captain.
Okay.
And a librarian also. I think that's about what he had. And he won, but barely. It got to the point where I had killed like everything on his side of the table, or I'd taken his 2 repulsors down to like just a couple of wounds each. And so they were functionally useless against my Raven Guard that were far away from them on the table. But I just could not kill Gilliman. So we were playing, this is post-FAQ. So he's rolling with 11 command points, and I'm rolling with 9, right? And he's got the whole command point regeneration thing that Ultramarines can do.
Yep.
So every time I'm popping through Gilliman's armor save or invulnerable save, he's re-rolling to make it come back, you know? And then the Teeth of Terror captain, same thing. Every time I'm getting through... his 4 vulnerable save, he's rolling and he's successful every single time. His Teeth of Terror captain killed 2 intercessor squads, a Reaver squad, and an Inceptor squad by himself.
Well, it's a multi-damage weapon, right?
Damage 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect for covering through those guys. That's why I built one, because it's also the price of a chainsword, so it's actually free.
Right, yeah, and the Teeth of Terror with a jump pack is just about the gnarliest you can get for... characters and Space Marines, and they don't make Primaris Marines with a fucking chainsword. At least they don't make characters with them.
Yeah, you can give the Teeth of Terror to your Intercessor Sergeant. That's worth it.
No, you can't, because he's not a character.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Womp
So he, Dave was upset about it because he has an all Primaris force too, and he wants to do all Primaris just like me, but he's like, I have to make the sacrifice and get a regular Marine here because this character is just way too good. And I agree, but I, Campbell, am going to hold myself above that kind of bullshit.
About 1 head above, because that's how much taller Primaris Marines are than regular Marines?
Yeah. I desperately want one because he's a fucking beast, but I don't know, man. Unless they bring out a Primaris character with a chainsword, I'm just going to have to wait. Twiddle my thumbs.
I'm just picturing like this whole like Primaris army, and they're all like, 8 feet tall and tough and all that stuff. And then you have the one little guy with a giant chainsaw just going, let me at him, let me at him,
let me at him. Yeah, and then he tears up half my fucking army.
Fuck.
So at the end of the game, I had the Gilliman, he had like 2 wounds left after he had gotten back up. And he Dave was just making saves left and right for him. And then he had the Teeth of Terror captain with 1 wound left. And it was just, I just couldn't kill him. And if I had killed either one of them when I mathematically should have, it would have been a completely different game. But sometimes that's what happens in 40k. It was still a great game. Went all the way down to the wire. Had a great time with Dave. He's a good guy. So, yeah,
Oh,
it's nice.
solid.
It's nice when this is a guy, he plays with like Mike Brandt and all those super competitive guys, and I was playing at Mike Brandt's house, and Mike and Tony Kopak and dudes kept coming up to the table and being like, man, this doesn't even look like the game of 40k we play. And I'm like, I know, that's on purpose.
That's very intentional.
Yeah, right. So it was a good time.
Oh, sounds it.
So what's new? What came out? What are we talking about that Games Workshop is released recently?
It's been a quiet time for actual 40k models as of late. Like, we're still getting codexes, codices, whatever, coming out pretty rapidly. Like, we
got Deathwatch is coming up soon.
Yeah, Deathwatch is going to be on pre-order, I think, this week, next week, whatever. So that's coming soon, which is cool. You'll be able to do mixed Primaris squads, which is kind of fun. And it'll give you kind of some place to finally maybe use those like 3-man, easy to build packs of guys. But it's a coin flip whether this will be a Grey Knight situation where it's too few, too expensive, too fragile, or it'll be a custode situation. Who knows? Well, we'll know in a week, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. I know Craig Sniffin's excited. You know, good luck, buddy. Hope it works for you. I don't know. Do you think he's going to bring his Deathwatch to Nova this year? Because he made those Rainbow Warriors for Deathwatch.
Yeah, I'm thinking he might continue with I don't know if who continue the Rainbow Warriors, because he did just put out the that one Rainbow Warrior Terminator Standard Bearer with the old Space Hulk plastic from the first edition Space Hulk.
Oh yeah, the old school guy.
Anywho, not much else has really come out. We've got at least nothing else for 40k. We've got more of the Idnet the Deepkin guys here, just Sigmar, who are super cool, but this ain't the podcast for them. And then
there's one thing. There's one thing for 40k.
Ooh,
is the combat roster.
Oh, that actually, yeah, that came out, I guess, yeah.
So the combat roster is something to help you build your armies. It's a tool, an online tool that you choose your faction and you put your units down, and it'll calculate for you how many power level and how many models you have in your army.
Yeah, well, you need to add models for the power level, because that's how squads build with power level.
Well, no, there's like up in the corner of it, there's a power level counter, and then it has a little Space Marine helmet counter, or at least for Space Marines it does, telling you how many individual models are in your list.
All right. Yeah, it's cute. It's not comprehensive. It's cute.
Doesn't give you detachments, doesn't give you CPs, doesn't give you points. It's kind of useless.
It's basic. The diplomatic term is basic.
Okay, basic, yeah. Unfinished, perhaps?
Yeah.
Lazy?
Maybe. I don't want to say how much work did or didn't go into it, but it definitely is not the be-all and all we can use
into it. You didn't put any fucking work into it.
Yeah.
So maybe we should shut the fuck up.
Yeah. You want me to code the app? That'll be great.
Yeah, it'll work great. But other stuff came out for another game we like called Necromunda.
Yeah. First off, we got the new Vansar gang, which we've talked about them before, I'm sure, but they're the new multi-part plastics for Vansars, and they are
put out the 360
cool
views this Saturday, and I spent a good 20 minutes just like mouth agape looking at those delicious, delicious models.
They're beautiful.
I want to see fucking guard regiments, Vansar guard regiments.
I mean, they even recommended in either White Dwarf or White Warhammer Community or whatever to try making them for veterans or some advanced tech regiment of guard, and they've got
that shit. Make 6 fucking squads of Vansar, put them in your guard army. The Acadian box of 10 guys is $35.
Yeah,
I think the Vansar box is $40. And yeah,
like,
you might have to get a little squirrely with heavy weapons or bullshit, but guys, fuck, like just do it. Just they look so fucking cool.
Yeah, you've got 15 years of plastic molding technology on top of the old Cadians. No, they're fantastic models. They've got just a little bit. They've got the character of the old gang, but with a lot more, techie weirdness. Although they do not look as grimdark as anything else. They are probably
they look like Infinity models almost.
Yeah, they look almost like Infinity models. They are some of the least 40k models that have come out for 40k that still are just on the cusp of being in the aesthetic, because they still have like stupid melee weapons and giant laser guns, but they're really, really good models. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for. Though. Yeah, there's a deficit of skulls.
I don't think they have any melee weapons, dude.
No, they do.
Like in their box.
There's like the gang leader guy.
Oh no, he's got like a power axe or some shit, and there's a laser shield. Yeah, I don't. But like you look at all the rest of the boxes, and like Goliaths have a fuck ton of melee weapons. Orlocks don't. They have a lot of. They're mainly shooting, but Escher have a lot of melee weapons too. But I guess Van Saar leans heavily away from melee.
Yeah, they always have, and they have all got like rad sickness, so they even painted them like to look all pale and sickly and stuff like that. And there's mixed genders in the box set, which is super cool. No, I think it's an absolute.
Okay, I like the fact that they're involving mixed genders or whatever, but it's like blatant boob plate.
It is, but well, do they have blatant chest plate?
Why couldn't they like armor? I don't know. You know, this is one of those things that. You know, argument or a fucking thing on that a lot of people get all turnt about. And I'm not, generally, I don't really give a fuck. So, I don't know. It's just like armor doesn't, you don't mold boobs into armor.
You don't.
Right?
That's how bullets and blades get caught.
I don't know how to make armor. I'm not a fucking armor smith over here. But...
Blacksmith Boyd.
Fuck it. The models still look great. They look like they'd be pretty easy to paint too. Like just a couple of colors and some highlight bits in there.
That's true of all the Necromunda models. None of them are over detailed, like disgustingly over detailed. You can add extra bits and bobs to make them more, interesting, but generally they're pretty simple textures, a variety of textures that you can work on and paint them up pretty quickly. Like the Goliaths I've been working on, I've been painting them up so fast. The only reason I haven't finished them all yet is because I've been, moving. So moving, unpacking, building,
right?
Yeah. But
so Necro Bounty Hunters also came out with you look Grundle Scrunterson or whatever.
Grundleson, he's a squat. Give me danger in the slam sector. This guy's amazing.
Fuck Grundle Scrunterson.
Grundle Scrunterson?
Oh, yes. Grundle Scrunterson.
Yeah,
they got Belladonna, who is some sort of mechanical person.
She's an ex-Escher who's based on the old Amazon Gothic artwork by John Blanche. Like, it's like an old White Dwarf cover from, I think, before it was even a purely GW publication. Like, it's an oldies art, and it's so cool.
I love the old picture. And they did the model very, very, what's the word? Honest to it.
Yeah.
With the boxy, bulky, robotic arm and stuff.
Really cool and the giant hair.
They did Eros Slagmist, who is some sort of mechanical vampire.
Yeah, he's so weird. He's so strange. He just like sucks the moisture out of guys, and that's how he like sustains himself.
I don't really get because his profile and rules are in Gang War 2, and the model looks cool. The story behind the character is cool as shit. But then you get to the rules, and he's just sort of fucking around with a las pistol. And that's it. He doesn't do much of anything.
Oh, well.
I mean, he's super hard to kill because he's got true grit and nerves of steel and a armored undersuit with his furnace plates. So he's like getting 4-ups from the front arc, and he's ignoring pins and rolling multiple dice and picking for every injury roll that he takes, and he's got multiple wounds and toughness 4, but he's got a las pistol, and that's it for ranged. I guess he got frag grenades too.
Yeah,
but still, he's putting out strength 3. I don't know.
I mean, all right. So I went out and picked up all 3 of the bounty hunters, and I haven't even read their rules. I just think the models are dope as hell, and I want to paint them up. Because
the Grundle Scrunterson, his rules are pretty good. He's slow, but he's tough and packs a pretty mean punch.
Which will fit with the Goliaths. I mean, the last time I painted a squat was this old, proud squat with his hands on his hips and a bolt around his back, and my name for him was Commodore Nougat. I used him as like a Thunderfire cannon gunner in like 5th edition. I love that mini.
Nice.
But there's also Goliath weapons packs, which are a big deal for me because that box set has not a whole hell of a lot of options.
So my question to you, because I've thought about this.
All right.
Are you going to buy 30 more Goliaths and arm them with everything possible? So when you play in a Necromunda campaign, you can just be like, oh, yeah, I have the model for a guy with a plasma gun. Fuck it.
So I bought the first 10 Goliaths that came with the big old box, or I got the first 10 that came with the big old box set. That was like Christmas present for my dad. So those guys I built all using things from the box. I did some converting and did some weapon swaps here and there just to give some variety. But I got 10 more Goliaths because I traded Dylan a bunch of beer for them.
Oh.
because the barter system is alive and well, my friends.
So now all you got to do is grab a Goliath weapons pack, and you'll have some extra help for your gang in the future.
That's what I did. I got the Goliath weapons pack and those 3 bounty hunters, and I was up at my $100 for free shipping from Forge World.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've thought about it, man. I've thought about getting, I don't know, maybe if we do another Necromunda event down the road, getting another 10 Orlocks, and then whenever the Orlock weapon pack comes out, and making some new figures to use in the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I for all I know, I'll bring some of these guys to like Adepticon next year or something like that. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it for new releases and what we've been wasting our time and money on. So I
want to stop before we move on to our topics of conversation. I want to say one more thing. I figured out my painting schedule for Nova.
All right.
And if we all remember, because I wouldn't shut up about it on my podcast about Warhammer 40k, I painted a lot for Adepticon. I had 2 units done, and I'm sorry, I had 2 models. No, I think I had a lieutenant and an intercessor squad done when Nova started last year. And then in between, from the end of Nova to Adepticon, which is a 6-month period, I went from that, which I believe is about 165 points, to having 1850 done. So at Nova, you're supposed to have a 3,000 points for the Apocalypse game. So I've got to add 1250 to the thing, and I figured out how I'm going to do that. And part of it, most of it, is going to be an Astraeus. I am going to get the Resin Albatross, so buy our fucking t-shirts. I am going to get it at the end of June, so I have all of July to work on it.
That's enough time to highlight all those edges.
I think it'll take me about a month. It fucking take me a month to put the fucker together, I'm sure. But it gives me enough time to hopefully finish it by the time Nova starts. And adding to that, I got to do basically another 500 points because the Astraeus is 750. So 500, 1250 plus 1850, 3,000. Great. Math. Boom. And that other 500 points is going to be a couple of characters, a chaplain and a librarian, both Primaris, and then another unit of aggressors, the Flamestorm aggressors, because I want them. I understand that they're not the best, but they're also $35.
Yeah, for the easy to build guys.
The easy to build guys look great.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna fucking get them and put them together and use them. That'll be good. And then I'm gonna do the Plasma Inceptors because I want them.
Neat. I kind of wanted to get the big bubble.
Oh, and one more thing. The Contemptor that I bought at Forge World.
Yeah.
Not at Forge World, but at the Forge World booth at Adepticon. I'm going to do that. That's going to round out about 1250, and that'll round out my 3,000.
Nice. I kind of wanted to get the big bubble mask things from the Inceptors. The big diving helmet type things they can have where they have the retractable thing. I wanted to put those on aggressors with flamers so I could have them just be fire bats.
That's what Dave did. The guy I played the other he painted them red too to look like fire bats. And he had the blast shields for his fire bats, which I thought was really, really cool.
That's super cool. If you manage to snap a picture of them next time, I would love to see those.
Okay, I will. Yeah. And the reason I bring this up is because we're talking about what we would do if we had more time for Necromunda, and I'm not going to be able to because I think that this painting schedule might be a little more vigorous than I thought. With 2 units, 2 characters, a Dreadnought, and an Astraeus.
Yeah, you got your work cut out for you.
I don't think I'm going to be going crazy like I did for Adepticon, but it's still kind of a lot.
Well, do you know what you need to do before you start working on that?
What's that?
You'll need to overcome your hobby hangover.
Oh, my God. I'm so hungover.
And not just the regular kind, either.
I'm both.
Little from column A, little from column B.
So, Campbell, what are we talking about when we say hobby hangover?
So last episode, I think it was last episode, maybe it was just the Adeptisode. When you came back, you said that you were a little burned out after this big old lead up to Adepticon painting and burning yourself out in the midnight oil. Burning yourself out in the midnight oil. Jesus Christ. In the lead up to Adepticon, you were painting like a madman. And then
I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning For like the month before Adepticon,
Yeah.
I don't think I went to bed before 2 a.m. any of those nights.
Painting uphill both ways in the snow. And then you get to Adepticon itself and you were up all night drinking, gaming, and so on. And when you get back from that, it's hard not to get a bit tired of the hobby.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that can lead to people getting burned out. And again, a burnout is not a permanent thing necessarily, but it's definitely the sort of thing that makes you look over your paints and your white dwarfs or whatever and just go, not now. So some of the main reasons you can get burned out is having, in this case, too much of the hobby. You're getting too much ham just happening, too many games, too much painting, and so on. And while there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Yeah, totally. And it's a different, like when you're like super surrounded by the hobby, like when you go to a con, it's a different type of socializing.
Oh yeah.
It's like a very high energy, like you're in there, you're interacting with a lot of people at once. You're having like conversations, or you're playing games, or you're something, and it's very involved. And at the end of it, I remember I was talking to Carl and Justin when we were having lunch at the airport on the way home, and like we were just like so happy to like, I don't know, like just not talk all that much for the next few days, and not eat like garbage, drink all the goddamn time.
Oh my god!
Like it's a different kind of life when you're at the con, man. It's like college all over again.
Yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but college was difficult for me, at least, because all the potential socializing, all the different parties and everything. It's hard. It's hard to do regular shit when you're fucking partying that much. And when you come home from a con, it's like, fuck, man. I just want to chill, watch some Netflix, pet some cats.
Both at the same
time. Not worry
time.
about shit.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, that's the positive that can burn you out. On the other side, there is having a real bad game or bad experience with the hobby or the community or what have you that can definitely put you off it. Like when I was working on my night, that one big bright yellow, bright blue night, I got burned out working on that thing because it was such a nightmare to work on. It took so much for me to not just look at my paint desk with disgust and actually knuckle down and work on it.
No, I feel you. Working on these Orlocks, getting through to the washing stage is like they look like shit up until you wash them.
Yeah, and then it's super gratifying
or shade
once you
them,
start getting the highlights on.
Right. Or a lot of times it's games that'll get you. You'll go out and you'll have a game against somebody who's just terrible and shitty, and at the end of it you feel gross leaving the game store or whatever, and you're just like, why the fuck do I do this dumbass hobby?
I mean, that happened to me at Adepticon last year when I had that one bad Horus Heresy game with that awful dude, and it's like it put me off a lot. Like, fortunately, I was in the midst of Adepticon, and it was kind of like, sink or swim. I got to get back into the spirit of things, or I'm going to have a miserable time for the next 2 days. But if that was like my only game for the week, I'd be crushed. I probably wouldn't play for a month.
No, that's definitely happened where I've gone, and it happened a lot more when I would like play pickup games before I had a social network around this. Like when you just go to a game store and you end up playing like some asshole who either doesn't know the rules or is just like blatantly cheating or just like smells awful and is gross, and I'm just like, man, fuck this dumb hobby. I remember back in 5th edition they had like there was a list called the Hobby Killer.
Yeah,
remember that? Like everybody had like their Hobby Killer list or whatever. And like that was a thing. Like you're going to beat somebody so bad that they're going to hate Warhammer and stop playing.
Yeah, making someone rage quit is not something that you should aspire to do. That's just not cool, man.
It's super not cool.
But as for the last main way you can really get burned out is just kind of a general disinterest over time. Like sometimes you can just kind of get too into it over too long and you got to take a break. So that goes into our first tip for how to overcome your hobby hangover, which is take a break of some sort. It can either be a partial break where you just, don't paint or don't play for a little bit, or a complete cutoff where you just avoid novels, forums, and so on, and come back refreshed a few days, weeks, whatever later.
Right after Adepticon, I took a week off from painting.
Yeah.
And I think that week was instrumental in helping me getting started with my Orlocks, because I felt no pressure. I was like done. I didn't have anything necessarily to do for that week or anything, so I was just like, I'll just hang out with my girlfriend, pet some cats, watch some Netflix, and chill for a week. And then after I got back the next weekend, I went out and bought the Orlocks and leisurely put them together. Because I like putting together models a whole lot more than I like painting. And I think most people would agree with me on that one.
I think it's because of the time investment. You get a lot more in an hour than you do in painting. Because like after an hour of painting my Goliaths, I'm like, cool, they're 2 different shades of brown now. Well, after an hour of building, I'm like, cool, I got 5 dudes now that aren't just, things on a plastic sprue.
Right, yeah. So taking a break after big hobby efforts or big hobby socializing thing, like that's great. I know our friend JD, I'm pretty sure that guy didn't take a break whatsoever. Like he went right from Adepticon being surrounded and into the hobby to the point where he's dressing up like a fake Roman guy to play his team tournament games. And he's into it. We're going out and talking and hanging out the whole time. And then he was like right back in the group chat, just being like, all right, what are you guys working on? What's up post Adepticon?
He's a machine. He's an absolute machine.
What we should say? We should congratulate him. He just had a kid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Congrats on having
JD.
Your little snotling.
I think that's kid number 2 for them. And congrats, man. We're all proud of you. We're all happy for you. And he's talking about how he's on paternity leave and he's got the crib set up next to his work table at home. So, whenever the baby needs anything, he's sitting there painting or building or whatever, and he's ready to watch and be a dad. And he gets the hobby the whole time, too.
Hey, that's how my dad raised me.
Makes me think that paternity leave could get a lot of an Astreus painted.
I mean,
sorry, that's stupid. You're having trouble there, are you?
I know how I can find the time and money for a 4-year-old tank by having a child. This will leave me with plenty of the other 2 things.
And yeah, have a kid to subsidize your hobby, just like JD. All right, so let's talk more about how to overcome the hobby hangover. And so we went with taking a break. Doesn't have to be a long break. Doesn't have to be short break, but just whatever works for you. Take some time off. Take a step back from the hobby.
Yeah. Which that I'd say is probably one of the next ways to take a step back is don't let the hobby be your identity. Like, yeah, we are huge into this game, huge in this setting, all this shit. We do a fucking podcast about it. We clearly care about this hobby an awful lot, but it isn't the only thing that defines us. Like, just diversify your interests, diversify your nerd portfolio, and just come up for air once in a while, because it's very easy to just fall down a ham hole and come out a week later.
Ham hole. That's a good point. Don't make the hobby your only hobby.
Like, there was a post recently in the Independent Characters Facebook group where, a guy was like, hey, what do y'all do for a hobby that isn't game related? And not as many people commented as I was hoping would, but a lot of people, whether it's, working on cars, doing art, traveling, reading, whatever. There's a lot of things out there in the world to do, and this is just one of them. I'd say for the next one, notice you only have so much attention, you only have so much time, you only have so many resources, so you should budget those things. Like, you're only going to realistically paint so many models, or build so many models, so knowing that, paint ones you'll like and that you think you'll use. Like, I have had tons of extra minis from, grab bags at cons, from gifts, from freebies, from just random things I thought, ooh, this is cool, and picked up that I've never fucking touched, because honestly, I'm going to be painting the entire time painting that. I'm going to know I'm never going to use this guy. I'm never going to use these guild ball models. I don't even want to play the game or whatever. So just focus on the things you want to actually do. And as an addendum,
like, plan out your hobby time. If you're not like me and you're a normal person and don't have to rush to get a whole army done before a con, you can say, like, after 11 o'clock, your eyes are probably going to be tired. Your hands are probably going to be tired. Stop painting. Mm-hmm. If you're not ready to go to bed yet, if you need time to unwind, go do something else. Like, I've come to the point many times where, my eyes are drooping and I'm making silly mistakes on the models because I'm losing control of what I'm doing because I'm tired. And at that point, if that's happening, stop. Like, just stop, let it go. But you can get into the hobby. You can say, I'm going to paint for an hour and a half tonight. I'm going to paint for an hour tonight. I'm going to paint for fucking 30 minutes tonight. And just get a little bit done, because it all adds up.
Yeah, but speaking of things that add up, buy as you go, if you can help it. Because nothing gives you buyer's remorse like seeing a mountain of plastic on your desk.
And nothing will make you finish models more than getting more models. Like if you have a policy of don't buy anything new until you finish the stuff you already have, like that's a huge factor in at least motivating me.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm like, well, I want a big fucking army, but I have to finish these guys first.
Yeah, it can sometimes feel a bit like eating your vegetables in that case, which kind of goes a little bit against the budget or attention point, but you're getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And also, when it comes to that, like, even if let's say you do buy a bunch of things together, or let's say you get the Forgebane box, like something big with a lot of shit in it, don't put the whole thing out all at once. Don't do it all. Don't build it all at once. Don't base coat it all at once, because batch painting, batch building, and so on is best done in moderation. Like 10 models at a time, great. More than that, you might have a hard time.
I think I've said it before, like in the show here, but in like weightlifting, there's a phrase, it's like anything more than 5 is cardio. And, cardio kills gains. So nobody wants to do cardio. But anything more than 5 in batch painting is fucking torture. We talked about this in a previous episode. Like,
yeah.
Like you've batch painted like 20 before.
I've batch painted
insane
20 to 30 models at a time before, and I don't recommend it. I've
batch painted tanks before. I did. Before Nova, I think I was doing 5 tanks at once.
Good Lord.
That was an effort in complete futility. Like I would paint for like 2 hours a night. Mm-hmm. And they would look the exact fucking same as where I started. Yeah. It was brutal.
Yeah, I batch painted.
I think I was doing like 2 Lehman Russes, a Hydra, and like 2 Wyverns or something. It was so bad. Wyverns and fucking Hydras take forever to paint, dude.
A lot of nooks and crannies in that little like computer console back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I batch painted 20 crossbowmen in a white and red quartered scheme that I stupidly did over black primer, which is just I didn't paint for a month after that.
But that's what we're talking about. You had the hobby hangover. After those tanks, I had the hobby hangover. I didn't want to fucking pick up a fucking paintbrush at that point because it was just done. It was so draining.
Yeah, and the most draining thing is my last point on overcoming your hobby hangover, which is don't get sucked in by negativity. This hobby is supposed to be something we do for fun, and if you go around online, you'll find people who don't seem to have gotten that memo. So
they take their fun so seriously, Campbell. No, if you don't like doing it, if you're not having fun, do something different.
Yeah.
Try out different ways to make it fun. I think a great way of overcome the hobby hangover is to work on something different. Like I did a bunch of Raven Guard, so now I'm doing Orlock. And honestly, Campbell, I can't wait to get back to painting Raven Guard. These Orlocks are way too colorful, but it still was a nice change of pace to go from my Black Goth Marines to my Hulkamaniacs, and it's a great way to get over it and want to get back maybe to your other project that you're doing. Is just do something different.
I mean, there's a reason that you get palate cleansers in between courses sometimes.
Yeah, at the nice restaurants. Anyways, let's talk about something different. Let's move on to our next topic, where we're going to talk about getting started with Necromunda. And we're talking a lot about Necromunda lately because we're doing this event this weekend that we're driving to. And Necromunda is a great way to get started with the hobby because you're only working with 10 to 12 models for the most part. Unlike Campbell and I, which are eventually going to have gangs of 40 dudes with every weapon option possible and then have an army of bounty hunters and hangers on and shit afterwards. But most normal Necro players are going to have just, a dozen guys.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to, and also with Necro, you're also talking about scenery. You're talking about building and painting your own tables, which is a huge part of Necromunda. Like, they bring the tiles in with the game, and you can play the Zone Mortalis way. But the real fun way to play Necromunda is on a table with a absolute fuck ton of terrain on it.
Yeah, that's where the training wheels come off, and this is where the real Necromunda begins.
Right. So we thought that it was a cool idea to talk about getting started in Necro because Necro is a cool way to get started with the hobby. So my first point for getting started with Necro is just buy a gang you like.
Yeah.
The box sets are $40 a pop, and we've got 4 of them now: Escher, Goliath, Orlock, and Vansar. And if you like one of them, fucking pick it up, man.
Yeah, it's a low
Don't worry
investment.
about the rules so much. Don't worry about the counters and the dice and everything else. Just pick up the models that you think are cool and bring up a test model. Build one, prime it, base it, paint it. Bring up a test model. If you like doing it, pop it, twist it, turn it, stab it, eat it. If you like it, keep doing it. Do another 9.
Yeah. And if you don't, it's one model. And if you really don't, it's one box of models. Like, the investment for this game in both time and money is fairly low.
Right. And if you don't like it, you can always sell it off. I mean, a lot of this stuff is the Necro stuff it's the models are so great. And this is one of the things, like, one of the great things about Necro is because all of the gangs have such different character to them.
Now more than ever.
Like there's going to be something for everybody there. So if you end up not liking it, okay, that's cool. Somebody will buy it for you. Yeah. Or another thing you can do is you can buy the starter set because you like Goliaths or Escher.
Or both.
And just sell off the other guys or split with somebody you know.
Yeah, and that box set has literally everything you need to play the base game. Like, yeah, you're not going to get the progression, you're not going to get the three-dimensional tables, but that's going to be enough to give you a taste of what the game's like. And it's just got all this cool stuff you can use for even if you don't actually play the game on those tiles or whatever. All those bulkheads and barricades and so on are great for terrain. They're great for scenery. They're great for scratch building stuff and using them to accentuate things. And again, the models themselves are super fucking good. Now, once it comes to picking a gang, what do you think you should do next?
I think it's probably figuring out the theme. Who are your gang? Who are they?
Yeah, because like every fighter needs their own name because they're each a unique character, like a unique RPG-esque character. Even just the regular gangers who don't actually get that much in the way of special experience or special skills are still unique people with unique equipment.
And what's better than theming your gang around a bunch of puns or a bunch of nostalgia or whatever the fuck else you want to do, or nostalgic puns. Exactly. You've got the butcher's block. And do you have any good names picked out for your guys yet?
Oh, do I? All right. Yeah, I do. So the leader is Slamburger, obviously, because he's got the power hammer and that whole thing.
Yes.
We've got, coming up around the flank with a combat shotgun is Slider. My gangers, like my rare gangers, tend to be pretty generic. There's guys like Chuck or Ruben or Pulled Porkins. And my big bad guy, like my big bad champion with like an axe in each hand, is Angus the Black. And my favorite stupid fucking pun to bring it back to Bruce Campbell territory is my Juve with 2 stub pistols named Brisket County Jr.
Oh, I used to love that show.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, it's like it's so fun to kind of just go through here because I mean I've got tons of nicknames I've thrown out that are in a leftovers folder, like Ribeye and Slim Jim.
Yeah, but
it's just fun to have a theme and roll with it because this also isn't the first iteration of my meat themed gang. Team Meat was the first one where I saw Cocktail Weenie rise from a Juve all the way to gang champion, and that name suddenly became a lot less appropriate when he was bullseyeing guys from 36 inches away with a bolt gun.
Yeah, they get better. They're like our children. They get bigger and better.
Like our children, they get bigger, they better, they catch on fire, they fall off gantries, and they die miserable deaths 3 games in.
Or some lady rounds a corner with a fucking jerry can full of noxious chemicals and douses them with it, and the skin sloughs off and they die. Regular stuff, like kids do.
They slough off so fast.
So, Campbell, I think there's one of the hardest things about getting started in Necromunda, though, is always going to be finding players.
Yes. So the problem with Necromunda is actually the double-edged sword of Necromunda, rather, I'd say, is that it shines in campaign-based games. It shines having not necessarily a game master sort of thing, but a dedicated group that plays regularly. Because playing a one-off game in Necromunda is a lot of fun. It is, at its core, a very enjoyable game. I've had I've played nothing but one-off games of the new Necromunda, and I've enjoyed all of them immensely. But where the old Necromunda really came into itself, and this one does too, is when you have that game-by-game progression. You have your guys leveling up. You have them getting injuries. You have them fucking biting it. And you need a group of like-minded players to really get that going. And
that's going to be the hardest thing, is finding those like-minded players. Because you can go to the game store and get a pickup game against anybody, and it's probably going to be an okay experience.
Yeah.
But finding a group of friends or something that gets together and plays this game and has fun and maybe drinks some beers and
maybe drink some beers.
Maybe, just maybe. That's really where it is. So my suggestion to you, new Necromunda player, is convince your friends to play Necromunda.
It's not hard. Like it compared to being like, hey, I want to play Bolt Action. You want to buy like $3,000 of the plastic Nazis?
Or you could say, or a thing you could do, honestly, is you could buy a second gang. And maybe not paint them as well, but give them a couple of coats of paint in there and say, hey, man, do you want to learn how to play this game? It's really fun. It'll take you 10 minutes to learn.
That's the thing. They're cheap enough that you can totally do that. Because like having a spare 40k army, unless you're a veteran who's been in the game for a long time, isn't really feasible. It isn't financially feasible. It isn't space-wise feasible. But having a second 10-man squad of guys, no big deal. And chances are you might even already have their rules in one of the gang war books you picked up yourself. So it's a low buy-in, which is really good way to get people back into it. Because like a Star Collecting box for 40k or Age of Sigmar costs as much as 2 gang boxes.
Yep. So I want to do a quick contest, real quick, Campbell,
Ooh.
with prizes.
Whoa, ritzy!
Because I've got a ton of shit in my hobby closet that I'm never going to use, and I've decided that I'm going to get rid of it by giving it away to listeners. And so what I want to know, listeners. I want you to email us at contact@40kbadcast.com your best themed gangs. And whatever I think is the best, I will send a Bolt Action starter set to your house.
Speaking of, wow, that wasn't even a segue I planned on.
No. I'm if you send us in the best themed gangs, with pictures would be great of your gangs that you've made. And whatever makes me chuckle the hardest or smile the mostest or whatever, I will send a nice prize to the winner.
So send them
Contact at 40kbadcast.com.
Send them
Engage with us.
To Dan, the arbiter of taste.
Engage with us. Well, Campbell, you get to see them too.
I do.
And if there's something that you really like, you can always say, hey, I really like this one.
Yeah, but everyone knows my opinion isn't worth shit.
Yes. Well, we didn't talk about it, though. But you know when it is worth shit? Here's a segue for you. You know when your opinion is worth shit is when we are making the call.
I think I have chest pain.
Yes. We're bringing it back. The segment of questions and answers on the 40K Badcast. You make the call, where we, not you, we make the call. Campbell,
yeah.
Do you have good content? Questions.
Do I ever have good content? I went out there and dug up some of the most pressing questions from Quora and Yahoo Answers so we could have something important to say. So, Dan.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, is there one big black orc in the 40K universe that eats planets for lunch?
Ooh. Okay. Now, this is a thing. Okay, so there used to be, back in like 2nd or 3rd edition or something, there was this giant floating orc that was like kind of alive that would just float through space. And like when it would hit a planet, it would wake up and just destroy everything and consume the planet or break the planet up and then float away again in space. Mm-hmm. That's a thing. That's a thing. Now, before you astrophysicists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who just loves ruining everything for everybody, because he's made the heel turn. In wrestling they call it the heel turn when the good guy becomes a bad guy, where he was a good guy, but now he's just out there like ruining Groundhog Day for people. Like, what the fuck, Neil? Come on. Before you shitheads tell me that, hey, a giant celestial orc would probably get trapped in the gravity well of a sun and just like orbit one sun for the rest of forever. Shut the fuck up. It's an orc. they can do whatever the fuck they want. So yes, a Titanic orc floating through the stars, devouring planets, does exist.
So Galactorc is actually a thing.
Oh, nice. Galorctus? Galactorc? I think Galactorc is better, but Galorctus sounds grosser.
And he's heralded by the Silver Scrunt.
This is good. This is a good podcast. What's next?
Can the Steven universe defend against the entire Warhammer 40k universe? My friend thinks that they can, due to the melee weapons.
I don't know what Steven Universe is.
It's a cartoon for children that many people my age watch.
Okay, the answer is no. Next question.
Who would win a death battle between Doom Guy and a Warhammer 40k Space Marine?
Who's Doom Guy?
You're breaking my heart, Dan.
I don't know enough about popular culture, apparently.
About 1993's classic Doom?
Oh, Doom! The Doom Guy! Oh, of course. I thought Doom Guy was like another kid's show.
No, that's why I skipped over the one over who would win the fight between Twilight Sparkle and a Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine.
Well, one's a cartoon pony and one's a genetically enhanced super being with a gun that shoots grenades. Or I guess rocket-propelled grenades, if we're going to be honest. So, you know, figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, a lot of people in Quora are really jonesing for that horse fight.
Ooh, horse fights. Bringing it back. Bringing it back. Okay, so Doom Guy. So Doom Guy, now, Campbell, you might not know this about me, but I read, when I was younger, the novelizations of the game Doom.
Oh, Knee Deep in the Dead?
Yes, by David, but his name was spelled weird. It was like Dafyd.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways. Yes, I read that. And if I remember correctly, I don't remember that guy's name, but he was a Marine.
Huh.
Now, I guess if you're a Marine on one of the moons of Mars, I guess you wouldn't be a lunar Marine because Luna is, of course, our moon. So you could be a space Marine, right?
Yeah, I think you're still under the the copyright agnostic term of Space Marine.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Doom Guy, he had a lot of good weapons. Okay, all right. I don't think the Doom Guy with just the pistol or the shotgun beats an Imperial Space Marine. However, if he's got the BFG or the rocket launcher, now we're talking.
And once he's got double damage, it's all over.
Yeah. So it's a conditional, yes, the Doom Guy could beat a Imperial Space Marine.
Rip and
maybe not
tear.
Barbarians. Your guts are huge.
You're huge. That must mean you have huge guts.
All right, so give me one more that we can make the call on.
Okay. Unfortunately, 99% of these are who would win. In a fight between Jason Voorhees and a Space Marine, who would win?
Ooh. Okay. All right. Is a Space Marine the correct person in this analogy?
I mean, I assume the Space Marine is always going to be the in the horror movie, the Space Marine's going to be the virgin. Okay.
Well, yeah, whatever. Gross. Shut up. I think Jason Voorhees is like an unkillable monster man with great strength who, well, maybe not unkillable, but he returns to life a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a Necron.
All right.
He's like a
flayed one.
A flayed one or one of the Tomb Guard or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So one of them can take out a Space Marine. Like if we're just going on rules.
Yeah, yeah.
They also cost more points than a Space Marine, but I don't think they cost 2 Space Marines each. I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the Necron Codex like ever, but I think Jason Voorhees wins against a Space Marine. I think a couple of Space Marines probably take out Jason Voorhees, but on his one-on-one, I think Jason Voorhees is the winner. I mean we've all seen Friday the 13th in space or whatever the fuck it's called.
Please, it's horror classic Jason X,
where he gets a sweet new hockey mask. And it's like space version hockey mask, which is very, very cool. So we've kind of already seen this movie.
Yeah, you're right. Didn't think I'd be pitching you such a low ball there.
Listen, man, it's okay. Not every pitch is going to make it in the strike zone, unless you're, Greg Maddux. But he's a Hall of Famer, and you're not. So
far from it.
Let's move on. You've already done a research part of the show with You Make the Call. So I asked you to do another research part of the show with Factor Fan Fiction, where you scour the internet for the worst/best fan fiction and read it to me while I recoil from my headphones in disgust.
Well, this time I'm lucky because this time the bad fan fiction found me. This one is actually kind of more of it's not so much a fictional narrative as much as a profile of a particularly powerful character named Cold Steel, the Space Marine. Cold Steel was born with a special power. He was stronger than all his classmates in the Space Marine Fighting Academy. He served in the Space Marine military, fighting Horus, and in the final battle against Horus, they were fighting, and Horus turned him to the darkness, and turned against the Emperor, and killed him. He lost a part of his hellmate in the battle, which is why he don't not have a part of his hellmate. P.S. Stop PMing me, asking me that's why. Why? Also, horns aren't furry. Fuck you, Loyalist Kid 666. Everyone knots you're a Pokemon scammer. Likes, hurting people, then badass, motorcycles, 9 Inch Nails, the band, killing, death, punk rock, skulls, darkness, hot girls with big boobies, horns, purple, cool kind, not gay kind, and misspelled chaos. Dislikes, niceness, happiness, leads, Kevin Robinson from school, fuck you Kevin, stop showing everyone my DeviantArt, you piece of shit. The Emperor, Short Nails, Loyalist Kid 666, Sunshine, Life, My Dad, and Football. And there's only one quote attributed to this galactic villain. Psh, nothing personnel, kid.
Oh, I love it. When did you write that? How old were you?
28.
Well, no, I love that. That's fantastic. However, that is clearly fan fiction.
It is. It is by copyright Blood Skull Boy 84.
Do you think Blood Skull Boy 84 was born in 1984?
His dad was.
Because if he was, he's older than me. But only by a year. That's great, man. That's a good one.
Yeah. So thank you to Tristan Alexander for sending that gem in.
Tristan Alexander sounds like the name of the person who wrote that. Oh, thanks, Tristan. All right, well, let's get out of here. So I have a question for you listeners. I recently stumbled across a Libsyn promotional email where they talked about like building up an Alexa skill for podcasts, and I was thinking about trying to do something along the lines of that with the 40k Badcast, but I don't actually know if it's worth, honestly, my time to go in there and like tag all of our back episodes with the Alexa stuff to make it work. So I want to ask you guys a question, and I want you guys to write in if you have any thoughts on how to improve our show and our distribution of our show. Not necessarily like your thoughts on our content or whatever. Like, you can always send that in. That's totally welcome, and we love to hear that from you. But I'm specifically thinking if you have thoughts about the way we distribute the podcast, let us know. contact@40kbadcast.com. Because if enough people write in and say, hey, I'd love a better way to listen to this on my Alexa or on my Apple Home or whatever, maybe I can try to find out a way to do that to make your experience better.
That's so open of you, Dan.
Thank you. And remember, there is a contest going on right now. Whoever sends me the best Necromunda theme gang will get a prize. I got a bolt action starter set. It's got plenty of plastic Nazis in it, and it's yours for the low price of making me giggle at my email account. Also, if you live in the U.S., I'll ship it to you for free. If you live in the international part of the world, the rest of it, then we're going to talk about how to get it to you, because a lot of that stuff is pretty expensive.
And I've got something for all y'all too. As you may or may not know, we have t-shirts that you can get at shop.spreadshirt.com/camtunes to get your Badcast badge shirt or one of my various Dawn of Awesome shirts. And if you use the coupon code SHIP2ME, all one word, SHIP number 2 ME, between May 2nd and May 6th, you will get free shipping.
Free shipping?
Yeah, that's like a few bucks. So
that's a couple bucks. But remember, every shirt you buy gets us closer to an Astreus. And by us, I mean me.
Dan exclusively. For the shop that I run.
You know, Campbell, there are people that listen to this podcast that do not own 40k Badcast bad shirts.
That's a problem. That's a problem that can be solved for dollars a day.
Just dollars.
Just $20 a day.
Just $20 for one day. Just at once on one day. And then you get a shirt. You get to look good. Get to look cooler than anybody.
You'll be, by definition, the baddest boy in the room.
Cold Steel? Cooler than Cold Steel.
Nothing
cooler than
nothing
cooler than Doom Rider? Probably not. Nobody's cooler than Doom Rider.
And if someone else says they're cooler than you, just remember, it's nothing personnel.
Nothing personnel. You can also reach us on Twitter. I am at DB_sleazy. He is at Brother SRM. While you're there, you can look at all my retweets of the United States Consumer or Product Commission or whatever, where they make great memes, and I like to retweet them because they're hilarious. Also, I go on Screeds, angry Screeds, about the broadcast quality or the quality of the broadcast of the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. So if you like to hear me yell at Matt Veskurgen and company, then I've got the Twitter account for you.
Meanwhile, mine is great if you want to see some, I don't know, me talking about how much Ready Player One sucks.
Did you see that?
No. I read half the book and I started hitting myself in the forehead with it. I'm not exaggerating. That book is awful. It is butt garbage from a butt. Do not. You can read it if you want to, but it's bad.
I was never in danger of reading that book, but I saw a picture of that guy.
Yeah.
And he had like center part, goatee, and like standing in front of a DeLorean that he owns, I guess, but it's got the Ecto 1 sticker on the side.
Yeah, it's in the book too.
And I was like, oh, I can't ingest any content from this motherfucker, this fucking clown.
But let me tell you, Dad, what you saw right there is just as cool as anything that happens in the book.
I remember I saw trailers for that film, and I was just like, who's going to watch this? Who wants to watch this movie?
Nerds like being pandered to, and that's all that book is.
Did that movie do well?
No idea.
I have a fucking computer in front of me. Campbell, buy time. Quick, stall.
My favorite part in Ready Player One is the part where they totally have, like, this guy comes up and is like, hey, author self-insert, you suck. And he's like, actually, you suck. And then his friend's like, oh, you just owned that guy. And they high five. And the guy's like, well, guess I'm owned. And he just fucking leaves. Ooh. Or it's the part where every pop culture reference they make, they then go on to explain in detail, so you don't even feel clever for getting the reference. Ooh. Or it's the part where there's a girl and he's like, hey, we should hook up. And she's like, no. And then he's like, maybe if I try this again, she'll say yes. And he keeps doing it until she finally caves and goes out with him.
That's not creepy at all.
No.
So here's some financial information about the box office totals for Ready Player One.
Yeah.
So it cost them $175 million, with about 150 more spent on marketing, 150 million more. The film needed to gross at least 440 million to break even, and it sounds like they did 544 million. So they did make money on the film.
Oh well. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people worked very hard in that film who do not know Ernest Cline.
It made more money internationally than domestically, which a lot of terrible movies. That's how it works out. I never don't really ever want to see that. So cool beans.
Sweet.
Well, that's our show. We're done. And thanks for coming by. Thanks for giving us a listen. Thanks for spending some time with your friends Dan and Campbell. And come on around in about 2 weeks when we do another from the 40k Badcast. And remember, we're back at 40k, and so can you.
I want to sit on my porch with a glass of lemonade and listen to the podcast roll in.